Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Maseches CHULLIN Daf Mevez. We have arrived. This is the famed Perek, the Perek Elu Treifos, discussing in great detail the various internal deficiencies, various injuries, wounds that would render the animal treifa and make it usher for consumption despite having experienced perhaps a relatively kosher act of shechita. But since the animal is considered treifa, which according to some would mean that it can't really live even a year. According to others, it can live a bit longer than that, but not much longer. So in any case, due to this severe injury, the animal is classified as treifa and is usher. Now, as we'll see later, this isn't really given to our rationalization. It's actually based on Halacha Moshe Sinai, taught by Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem, who knew all the intricacies, all the secrets of creation, knew what is considered, what is not considered a treifa. Speaking of which, there was an anecdote. There was a story that took place with Moshe Feinstein in a slaughterhouse. So he came to check. He was looking at a chicken that was turned out to be questionable, and he permitted it. But there was a young scholar there who was taking issue with his position, and he presented this impressive presentation to argue why it would be asra, why the chicken would be forbidden. And Moshe looked at him lovingly and heard him out, and he says, I'll first say it in Yiddish. He says, the shtickl Torah is good, aber the chicken is kosher. Your presentation, your analysis is very impressive, but the chicken, that's how he spoke. He's Litvish. He's a chicken, but the chicken is kosher. So it's all about how halacha dictates and determines for us what is and what is not considered a severe internal wound, which makes something a treifa. Okay, says the Mishnah. Elu treifos bebehema. The following deficiencies render a behema as a treifa. I'm going to have a list of 18. Yudches treifos, ironically, right? Chai. The first is nukuvas haveshet. Veshet, as we know, is the esophagus, and if it had a hole, got a puncture through and through, meaning through its has two layers, so it went through the wall completely. That is number one. Now, before we continue, just to get a general picture of the anatomy of the behema, the Art Scroll has very nice color photos, the English and the Hebrew Art Scroll, and actually the Izbahadar version of the Gemara, the Mesifta version, which I'm happy to be using here, has really wonderful color photos, close-ups of with all the details, every limb and every part of the animal from all directions, all angles, and you get a real nice view, a nice idea of what's going on. But I guess second best would be to describe it in words. So just in general, let's focus on the route which his food takes. Okay, so how he ingests his food and how it gets into the system. So we have the veshet to start. That's the esophagus, the food pipe, through which the material enters. It runs through that tube, and its first stop is the keras, the first big stomach, where it starts processing it, and then it is maligera, a kosher animal, regurgitates it back up to the top, and then next time it comes down the veshet, but takes a turn and ends up in the beis hakosos, which is another compartment like a stomach, which grinds the material further. And beis hakosos is called as such because the inside layer, the inside lining, inside surface is like a bunch of cups. It's very ridged, full of ridges, which facilitates in the digestion process, the breaking down of the material. Now, from the beis hakosos, the food continues onto the hemses. By the way, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, so it was once said to me that he pronounced it as hemoses, like to numbase, to melt, to liquefy, to break down. In any case, but it's commonly pronounced as hemseis. In any case, so the material travels from the Beis HaKoseis over to its neighboring compartment, which is the hemseis. Now, there's this valve which pushes it from one, but the wall in between is actually a double wall now, because that's where the two compartments meet. Very important to note that. So if there's a hole in either of these two compartments, if it's in the single layer wall, right, then it just goes through the wall. That's a treifa. But in the meeting area, there, the only way it's a treifa is if the hole goes all the way through from side to side, through one layer into the other and beyond. That's important to note. We'll see that later in the Gemara. Now, from the hemseis, the material travels on to the final station, the fourth stomach, so to speak, the keva, the Abu Mason, and from there on, it's over to the waste is extracted to the expelled into the dakin, into the intestines, and so on and so forth. Okay, so first on the list was the veshet, right? The food pipe, the esophagus. If it experienced a nekev, a puncture through and through, we're going to see later in the Gemara that the veshet actually has two layers. The outer one is red, the inner one is white. It's like a tube within a tube. After the hole goes through both layers, it's a problem. Number two, upsukas agageres. Agageres here is the trachea, the windpipe, comprised of a bunch of circular shaped sections of cartilage. And if that gargeres had been snapped, cut, not just a hole is not enough. It's not as delicate as the veshet apparently. It was cut mostly through. That's number two on the list. Nikav krum shel moech. Number three is the membrane of the around the brain, which experienced a nekev, a puncture. Number four is nikav halev, if the heart experienced a nekev, all the way into the cavity. So the hole goes all the way through. Nishbra shedra. Number five is the shedra, the backbone, cracked. V'nifsak hachut shelo, and the spinal cord within it snapped. Rashi explains that's the focal point. The deficiency here is the chut that snapped, which is the backbone, is the life force of the animal. So if the chut snapped, he's a treifa. The Mishnah mentions the shedra just because practically that's how it happens. When the shedra snaps, we assume that's how the chut snaps as well. Next on the list is the liver is missing. There's nothing left of it, even a remnant. Next, hareya, the long shenikva, which got a hole, or it's missing. It's not enough that it's just missing a bit. Nokev, it's only an issue provided that the nekev bores through all the way to the bronchi, inside to the veins that transport the blood within the lung. Lebesa symphones. It's called a symphones, like a symphony, because it all works together and in harmony. So explained Rav Velsky Zatzal. Nikba keva. The keva got a puncture. Nikva hamara, or the gallbladder. Nikva adakan, or the intestines. Hakeres hapnimis shenikva, the keres, the big one that got a hole. So the internal one, a hole is enough. Or if the outer one, the Gemara will explain exactly what internal and external means in this case. So the external one, shenikra roiv, if most of it got ripped, got torn, makes it a treifa. He's more specific. By a big animal, right? You have an ox, a big, mature one. So over there, it's about a tefach. Okay, if it ripped a tefach, aktana beruba is a small animal, young one. Then even just a tefach makes it a treifa. Oh, hemseis or beis hakoseis. So these are neighboring compartments. Shenikva lechutz. If a hole appears and the hole is through and through, right, from inside to out, that makes it a treifa. Nafal min hagag. Next is the animal that fell off the roof. And Rashi explains, even though there were no discernible, issues here, no breakage of bones. He says the actual trauma, this fall, makes it a treifa due to the fact that it sort of the whole structure of the animal got affected by it, and that makes it a treifa. Nishdaber reivs lo yaseh. Next is It's sliced, the ribs. If most of them broke, with drusas as an ave, an animal which was clawed by, attacked by a wolf. Depends. A daka, a lighter animal, yes, so being attacked by a ave renders it a treif. And Rashi explains due to the venom or rabies that are, that he inserted into the animal, that's what makes it a treifa. With drusas ariba gasa, if it's a large sized animal, then only being clawed by a lion has that effect. What about a bird being attacked? Drusas are nates. So the nates, some explain as to be like a hawk. But if hadak, so if it's a lighter bird like a pigeon, so even that makes it a treifa. Drusas hagas, but if it's a large bird like a chicken, duck, then only being attacked by a gas. Some say it's a large size hawk, some say it's a falcon. Zaklal, okay, this is the general rule. Any life-threatening injury would make it a treifa. Kol she'en kamoya chaya treifa. If an animal experienced this type of injury and wouldn't survive, that makes it a treifa. Continues the Gemara. Aram Shimon ben Lakish. Remez l'treifa min haTorah minayin. Where do we find a hint, a source, that a treifa is forbidden? Minayin? What do you mean from where? It's a pasuk. Basa the treifa. I say, don't eat a treifa. No. El remez l'treifa shenachayim min haTorah minayin. I'm looking for a reference in the Torah that a treifa animal cannot survive. That it's deemed life-threatening. It can't even live for a month, according to some, or 12 months, according to other shittas. So naturally it cannot survive that long. Okay, unless, today they have all kinds of ways around it, operations, etc. But naturally speaking, the animal is doomed. Minayin. Where do we find that in the pasuk? Minalan. Diktani Seifa. And this was triggered by the concluding statement in the Mishnah that a treifa cannot is doomed. Zaklal, right? Kol she'en kamoya chaya treifa. Treifa is by definition an animal can't live. Mechlal the treifa nechaya. Right? So you mean to say a treifa can't live? Minalan, where is that found in a pasuk? The Chsiv, we have a pasuk. V'zois hachaya. Asher toichlu. Eat an animal which is chaya, which is healthy, robust, as opposed to a treifa. Chaya achoil, a living, healthy animal, you eat. She'eno chaya lo yiteichel. Otherwise, if it's not chaya, if it's on its way out, if its condition is degenerating to the point that it's not going to survive, lo yiteichel, you can't eat it. Mechlal treifa lo chaya. We learn from here that treifa, in fact, is not expected to live very long. Now, ulamanda omar treifa chaya minole. But we learned that there's an opposing shita as well that holds that a treifa can live a substantial length of time. So how does he know that? Minolan, how do we know that? Is there a pasuk for that? Says the Gemara, nafkale. He learns it from this very pasuk as well. It says like this: Zois hachaya asher toichlu. Right? The word zois is specifying mizois hachaya asher toichlu. That there are different types of chayas, different types of behemoths, that are chaya, that are considered in the category of chaya, that can live for a while, that are not doomed. You have two types, fully healthy and the ones that have these deficiencies. Technically, they're both called chaya, because even a treifa is expected to live for a while. But the Torah says, look, even amongst the chaya categories, some you eat, some you don't. The one with deficiencies cannot be eaten, despite having the ability to live for a while. We learn zois hachaya echol. Only this chaya you eat. Only this enduring animal you eat. But chaya acheres leiteichel, another enduring a creature you don't eat, because it has those deficiencies, which certainly weaken its life force and become usher. But bottom line, we infer from here, mechlal, the treifa chaya, technically a treifa can endure for a while. The Torah is saying, look, even a treifa, which can technically live for a while, you shouldn't eat it. Okay, so that's the source that treifa can live. Now the other shita, what does he do with the word zois? For a different purpose. The Talmud Bavli, he applies it as follows. The Talmud Bavli, who meant to study the various types of animals. We're meant to learn how to identify which ones are good, which ones aren't, which ones are kosher, which ones aren't. We learn Hashem clutched a sample of each type of animal. And he showed it to Moshe, show and tell. Normally says, this one, yeah, this one not. This one's kosher, this one isn't. Now the other shita that already utilized Zois to teach us that treifa can survive, how does he know this point? He needs it for this. Look at the Tana, did it Bishmael. And once Zois goes for this, it's unavailable for that. And you're right. Ella treifa chayaminali. So then how does he know a treifa can live? Nafkalei me'idach Tana did it Bishmael. There's another source. The Tana did it Bishmael. Pasuk says you meant to distinguish between bein achaya hanacheles, which is a kosher animal, ubein achaya shalem ta'achel, ones that we should not eat. Rashi explains that once again chaya means a behemoth that can survive for a while, but you shouldn't eat it. Rashi says in the bottom, even though it's a chaya, I mean it can endure, it can live. It has an element of longevity to it. You still shouldn't eat it because of that treifa element found within the animal. Continues the Gemara. Okay, so we have a listing in the Mishnah, which, if counted up, total 18. 18 types of deficiencies which make the animal a treifa. V'sulaka, there is no more than 18. We have a whole long list of missing items here. V'ika baskar. It's an acronym, Beis, Samach, Gimel, Reish, standing for 4 issues, which we'll discuss later, which make the animal treifa as well. V'shev shmatz, and the 7 forms of treifa that were taught to us by the Amiroim, various deficiencies, which we'll refer to in a minute. So we have an extra 7 plus 4, it's 11. It's way more than 18. Why did the Mishnah just ignore them? So we turn to Talmud Beis. Okay, now it's not really a question on our Tana and our Mishnah because he didn't really give us a number. Right? The Tana, the ones that he listed, Tana, okay, he presented those. With the Shir, the ones that he left out, let's remember, he concluded with a defining, all-encompassing formula. He says, look, whatever is deemed life-threatening is called a treifa. So he covers all these unlisted items as well. So that's good. Right? However, according to the Brisa taught in the Beis HaMedrash of Rabbi Shmuel, who actually cited a number. Now, when you say a number, it alludes to exactness, right? The Amar Yudches Treifos. 18 is 18. V'suleka, there's no more. What about all these that we just mentioned? So let's go down the list. We had Basgar. Basgar starts with a base, which is the first item here. V'ika, what about this one? We have Behema. Base is Behema. She'nechtechu ragleha, whose hind legs are missing. Minar kuba l'mala, they were removed. Its leg was removed at a very high point, which endangers the animal. Arkuba means the joint. So the hind leg of the animal is comprised of 3 sections, 3 bones. The bottom is the arkuba tachtoina, middle is the shaik, okay? Above the shaik you have the thigh bone, the yarech, which is embedded into the structure of the animal. So if the animal's leg was removed at a very high point above that joint between the shaik and the yerech and the thigh bone, that's dangerous. That makes it a treifa. So why was that not mentioned in the list? The answer is, apparently Rabbi Shmuel holds it's not an issue. He disagrees. Several like Rabbi Shimon Elazar is like him. Who the Amur says, technically you can heal it. You can burn the wound, and you can it can recover and it can survive. Okay, so that's why it's not really belonging on our list because it's not necessarily going to turn into a treifa. You can bypass it. Says the Gemara, hold it. Now, this question was posed on Rabbi Shmuel. 18, it's more than 18, right? So the answer was you can heal it, and the animal can live on. So what? According to Rabbi Shmuel, even if the animal can live on, he holds that every treifa can live on. So that's not a reason to discount this item. Right? Even if you can burn it and heal it, okay, what does that do? What does that accomplish? The animal can live on, but the animal is still a treifa. L'man Kamar, who are we talking about? L'tan Rabbi Shmuel. According to him, survival is not inconsistent with treifa status. You can survive and still be a treifa. Tan Rabbi Shmuel, treifa chayas really. Every treifa can live. So back to the question. This item should have been on his list. Ela savar lo k'shim alazar. The answer is like this. He holds k'shim alazar, the Amar who says ksheirahi, that this deficiency does not make it a treifa. Now, in terms of the end product, he agrees that it's not a treifa for a different reason. According to Shmuel Lazar, it's because it can be healed. According to Shmuel, not necessarily because it can be healed. Because he holds, to begin with, it's not on the list of treifa. It's not considered a severe enough deficiency to make it a treifa. Okay, ksheri. So that's why it's not on his list. Very simple. Next item, the samach of Baskar. Vayika, what about this one? Chesaron b'shadra. It's missing some vertebrae. This nana we learned in the Mishnah. Kama chesaron b'shadra. So this is a Mishnah Meseches Ohales. About a totally different topic. Halacha is that a corpse, a mace, transmits tumah. If one touches it or lifts it, what about if he's under the same roof as the mace? So in that case, if it's just a skeleton without basar, it's not going to be matami in oil unless the remains represent pretty much the structure of the person. So the skeleton is substantial enough. It has the skull, it has the full backbone, right? The full backbone system. So if it's missing some of that, then it's no longer considered intact, and it's not going to be metami b'oil. And how much needs to be missing so that it's discounted? How many vertebrae must it be missing to lose its status? 2 vertebrae. Even 1 chulya. The same formula applies to treifa. So we shift to treifa, which means to say an animal who's missing a chulya, it makes it a treifa. How much must be missing? Exactly as the machlekes by the tumah. According to Shammai, until it's missing 2 chulyos, it's still somewhat intact and still okay. According to Basil, even missing 1 chulya has already lost its configuration, lost its status, and is going to be considered a treifa. Okay, so why is that not on the Bryce's list of treifas? Okay, we have an extra one, right? Missing a chulya. So the answer is we're going to try to vacate something off that list and open up a slot for this added item. You see, on the list we have hemses or beis hakoises, right? The 2 compartments, the neighboring compartments which experienced a nekev, which were counted as 2 items on the list. But really, since they're so close and they're sort of neighbors, hemses beis hakoises to kochashos l'betartu, you counted them as 2 separate items. You know what? Condense them. Chashvinu b'chada, treat them as just 1 item. So you've freed up 1 more slot on the list. B'chada, take 1 out. Aychada, and insert the new one, which is the chulya item. Okay, so that's back to 18. Veika gluda. Next item is the gluda, the animal who's missing its hide due to illness or was worn out, which according to the Chachamim makes him a treifa. So where is that on the list? Answer is, Sabala Yos Krab Meir, the Machshir says it's okay, it doesn't make it a treifa. And finally we have the Charusa, Vika Charusa. Rashi explains this to be a lung that shriveled due to some sort of very frightening experience. And that makes it a treifa. So that's an extra item. Answers the Gemara once again. We're going to try to make some room for this item. Mara mantanila. In the Mishnah we have Mara, right? The gallbladder, which got a hole. Who's the author of that opinion? Who considers that to be a treifa? It's only Rabbi Yehuda. It's only his opinion. It's a minority view. The Chacham disagree. They don't consider it a treifa. So we can afford to sort of remove that from the Mishnah. Sorry, we can remove it from the Brisa. Tanu Rabbi Shmuel, he didn't hold this item. So once that's off the list, okay, we have an extra slot for the gluda. Charusa, Apik Mal, remove the Mara from the list via Charusa, substitute with Charusa. Okay, so we're back to 18. Okay, that addresses these. What about the 7 other ones? What about the 7 that were taught by the Chachamim in the Gemara? Here goes. Number 1. The sort of ball that's situated on top of the thigh bone. Okay, so the thigh bone has like a round ball at the top, which is inserted into sort of a cup on the back of the animal. Buka is the roundish section, the atma of the thigh bone. The shaf meduchte that was dislocated from its slot. Rashi says buka k'may buchna, like a pestle, like a round pestle that crushes the in the mortar. So it's like a roundish shaped bone, which is meant to be inserted into the cup, which allows the animal to sort of move its hind leg back and forth, and if it's out of its place, it's a serious injury. Shaf meduchte that was removed from its slot, treifa, makes it a treifa. That's number 1. Number 2. Another treifa item, loksa bekulya achas treifa, of the animal has one non-functioning kidney. Okay, so he has that injured kidney. It's treifa. Certainly if both, but even one. Utnan, next item, nitalat choil kshera. If the spleen is gone, it's okay. V'amar avira, mishmei derava. Oh, that's only if it's totally missing. L'shana l'nital, that's only if it's totally gone. But ironically, if it's there and it's injured, it's worse off. It's like the appendix, right? Appendix can bloat and rupture, and within a couple of hours, chas v'shalom, can really endanger a person's life. So if it's there and not functioning properly, it can be worse off than being removed altogether. So you see this type of phenomenon. By the spleen as well. Missing is still okay, the animal can survive without it, but if it experiences a neck of its treifa. Next, these are the good old simanim, the tubes, right? The kind of veshet, shenadaldu, that were dislocated, detached of the surrounding, flesh. Beruban, mostly detached. Treifa, another form of treifa. Nekrotzela mikara treifa, one of the ribs got uprooted, detached from its source, from its base. So Rashi points out that even though we know that by the ribs, it needs to be most of the bones cracked, otherwise not an issue. But if even one bone was yanked out of its source, out of its joint, that's worse off, treifa. Nekrotzela mikara treifa. Vigulgoilis. Okay, the 6th item on the list of 7 is gulgoilis, the skull, that was mostly crushed. Again, that's treifa. And finally, the 7th is a basar, achayfas rara keres, brue treifa. If the basar covers most of the keres, if that flesh was ripped, berubay mostly ripped, it's another treifa item. So it's not just 18, it's 18 plus 7. How do we reconcile these numbers? Okay, here goes. We're going to try to condense them and get them to fit into the 18. Because look, amongst the 18 we have many variations of nekev. Right? In the punctured category we have a total of 8 examples. The veshet, the heart, the intestines, right? So really, we can just merge them into one group. Nukuvi, the various types of nekev deficiencies, Tzman Yahavu, are really 8. Chashvinu b'chad, treat them as one. Condense them into one item. So now we have freed 7 slots on the list. Apik Shev, take out 7, Ayel Shev, and insert these 7 just mentioned. So again, back to the grand total of 18. Yachib Psuki Nami Turihavo, if you're going to condense similar-minded, deficiencies, just as you did with the holes, what about the psuki, the slit, the detached? So we have 2 types in the Mishnah. We have the Gaugeres, right, which was nifsak, and we have the Chut HaShadra, that was nifsak. So why treat them as 2, condense them into 1? So now we have 1 extra on the list. Yachib Psuki Nami Turihavi, there were 2 variations. Treat them as 1, but now we're missing 1. We're down to 17. Void, another question. The Rabba Vira Mishmei, the Rabba Nami Nukubihi. One of these additional 7 was the spleen that was nakov. I got a hole. So, according to our grouping strategy, it doesn't really deserve its own slot. It should be covered under the nekev group. So now we're down 2. We're short. We thought we had too many. Now we're short. Return to the next Amud. Here's the solution. We're short? Okay, I'll find you 2 more to fill up the 2 vacant slots. We had discounted 2, right? We had the behemoth whose hind legs were severed, which we said we don't hold to be a problem. So put that back on the list. It is a problem. And the glue to the animal that was skinned during its lifetime, which again we had discounted, no, reinstated. So you add another 2 for a total of 18. Okay, so in conclusion, we had the comprehensive list of treifos, which were grouped into groups. There were 18 plus, depending on your position, on your shita regarding all those extra ones. We had a raya that we know we have a pasuk that treifa is aser. According to some, treifa is chaya. According to some, treifa is not going to survive very long, and those opinions again are based on psukim. We had the Mishnah, which gave us a listing without a number, but according to Rabbi Shmuel, there was a number of 18, a defined number, which we had to reconcile, despite discovering many more treifos that disqualify the animal, make it a treifa. All the best to you, and atzlacha.